actually initially came just to take a sabbatical year in France. My partner is French. We met in South Africa. So that was the initial idea, was just to come for a year. That's the long-term visa. But I'm still here, so I'm quite thankful for COVID too.
Sure.
So as my visa got automatically extended, I'm still here, and now I am actually able to apply for a familial visa because we've been together for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So that counts a lot for me.
Sure, Tanya, that's very interesting, but it must be a little bit nerve-wracking as well in the, not quite knowing which way this is going to go for you.
It is, but I have to really compliment the French, the French government here is they actually are quite open to extending long stay visas quite easily. So it's really not actually a concern at all. They really do, or they're quite easy with it.
Okay. And in terms of work, are you able to work on your long stay visa? What's the setup?
So based upon the visa, I'm actually not allowed to work in France. But I do work online for a South African family business.
Okay, all right. So that's not taking money out of. You see, that has also changed the whole setup, I think, in terms of immigration and work visas and stuff, because you're actually able to work from anywhere in the world and earn an income without actually having to apply for that visa, which is so easy.
That is definitely a massive bonus. And again, with COVID and everything that has happened, it's highlighted that point to so many other people, which I think is absolutely great. I mean, a digital nomad, it's becoming a more common word now. When I came here, if people asked you, and you said you're a digital nomad, people were kind of lost. They didn't know what it was. And
people didn't take you serious either. Am I right? People didn't think it was the real deal.
Yeah, people got really confused, and you have to explain them. But with France and getting actually a work visa in France is very difficult because they would rather have their own people get the chance to work than an expat.
Yeah.
So that is an extremely difficult process in France, extremely.
I think overall for any country,
it makes sense.
Except for South Africa, but they'd rather let someone from their own country work and earn than having to bring people in because, it's an economical thing.
That's actually something South African can really learn from. And they do that, they invest so much in their own people, educational wise, to get their own people to stay and work and actually to give everybody the opportunity. And that's something South African can actually investigate.
It's actually sad, Tanya, because we're actually losing such a huge collective brainy part, and I call it the brain drain, but it's been going on for years. But specifically now, it is. We're losing all our good well, not all of them, but a lot of the qualified people, and it doesn't matter what race it is. The qualified people prefer to go and work abroad because they don't feel safe, number one. Number two, they've got much better prospect and opportunity abroad. And it's so very, very sad. But yes, you're right. If our government and if our companies can learn from that, we have got very good, skilled and educated people, but they just seem to leave now because of those reasons.
Yeah, I think it's a bit it's also, I think a lot of people do decide to go because it just seems better on the other side.
Yeah. So Tanya, in terms of your whole visa process, are you making use of a company to help you? You know, like a visa consultation company or immigration company?
So when I actually started, I didn't at all. I did everything myself. And when I actually landed in France, you know, all of a sudden there's new document requirements because the French really like paperwork. And I had a whole bunch of new documentation that I had to submit. And I actually only made use of a document company to basically go and get the documentation for me. But I have never used an agency.
Okay, sure. And your things, did you leave it with mom and dad at home? And did you take a bag only to go over? What's your story?
No, I cleaned house. I sold everything. You know, when you come to the process of downsizing all of a sudden, I came to the realization, I don't need this. And the possibility of me putting something in storage and getting it again is a very slim chance, you know. So I decided from the get-go is to clear everything. I sold everything. I came over with 2 suitcases, and that's it.
Sure. I think that's a bit nerve-wracking. Look, I've done it before, and I made a crucial mistake. I went to the completely wrong country, and that is why I've started doing this, Tanya, because I feel that it's so important for people to understand that, yes, the grass might be greener on the other side in terms of your security, your safety, and opportunity. But there's a big emotional thing that also happens to expats that moves overseas.
That is so true. That's very true.
So you've got support from people around you, South Africans?
No, actually, I have not. I've never met another South African here since I've been here. I know there is other people. I think the closest South African from me, from actually a Facebook group, is about 2 hours. So it's not that far, but in France terms, it's far.
Yeah.
In African terms, it's just here.
Yeah. Okay. So why haven't you got accommodation? Or a vehicle, or how does it work? Sorry.
So actually, I've never come to the point of actually needing, you know, someone else. I've been quite lucky with the people and the friends that I've got here, that I'm completely surrounded with, even though they are all expats, you know, that I don't specifically have that need. And with Zoom currently, you know, I'm talking to you, but you know, we are face to face. So I think that extreme need for me was not so much, because we've got Zoom and I quite close with my family.
Yeah.
So I think that in that sense, maybe I'm lucky.
Yeah, it's almost like Zoom has taken the place of everything around us.
Human connection.
We're doing everything on Zoom. We're drinking coffee together on Zoom, so it's lovely.
Yeah.
Tanya, so your plans, how long do you think it will take you? What did they say? What's the indication of how long your process will be until you actually what do you get? Do you get a permanent residency when your paperwork is in place?
So it should take less than 2 months.
Oh, wow.
It's very quick here. If you are here, it's very, very quick. So within 2 months, I should have everything. And once I've got that, then I'll basically do the final immigration.
Okay. Tell me, in terms of your fitting into the culture, because French people are not like South African people. You lucky, you've got a French partner, but the French people are a little bit different to South Africans, especially if you're an Afrikaans girl. Am I right?
Definitely. I have to say yes, the French people are very difficult, but with good reason. I think I understand more and more, you know, why they are the way they are, purely just because of their history. But they are difficult people, and especially with the language barrier, they are even more difficult. But just purely because they are very proud people. So if you can't speak French, they won't, or they feel ashamed to actually try and communicate with you in English. So the arrogancy that comes across is actually not arrogancy. So, but yes, they are difficult people, but they are very open-minded. That is really one thing that took me by surprise, is just purely their open-mindedness. And especially if they find out that you are South African, they are absolutely ecstatic, ecstatic. Everybody here loves South Africa, loves the idea of South Africa. And that's actually really nice, you know. So I've been very lucky that I have only had like really good positive interactions with the French here.
Yeah. And in terms of, so how do you get on in terms of buying stuff if you don't know the language and your partner is not with you? Because the person, you can't even read French.
So that was actually such an interesting experience, because, you know, for us, if you need medicine, you know, you go to Clicks or Dis-Chem. You know, if you need groceries, you go Pick n Pay, Checkers, Woolies. You know exactly what product to get where. And when you come here, it's not like that. They don't have a Clicks. You know, they don't have all of this. And, you know, the structure is completely different. And I would be ecstatic. I would go for an outing and just go walk in the grocery store. Just literally just walk up and down the aisles, because it was so interesting to see. And you learn quite quickly, and you use Google. I Googled so much products.
You've got Google Translate.
Google Translate, and just to say, like, you know, what is, you know, Google, what is bakpoeier, you know, what is baking powder in French, and then you go with the phone and you actually go search. So it took me some time, but, you know, I think the basics are still the same. They do have a lot of different products than what we do. So like chutney was, I mean, I think it took me 1.5 years before I actually was able to get a product that was very close to chutney, just to make
my chutney marks, Scotty.
You know, that is actually something that that actually happened, was when I came, and all of a sudden, you know, you don't know the products, you don't know, you know, most of the things, and that actually made me love South African cuisine so much more. I can bake rusks, which I never could. I can make confit, jam. I can make jam.
Yeah.
You know, you learn how to do these things. Just, you know, you just go back to your roots, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Tanya, and are you enjoying it there? Is it because I spoke to another expat, and I'm not even I didn't record her, because she was in such a terrible state. She didn't want me to record it, but she said to me she's having such a hard time, and she's not coping, and she wants to move to another country. So she's obviously following me now on YouTube to see, you know, if I'm going to talk about the country that she's going to go to or that she's thinking of, because she's finding it extremely difficult.
So I think that is really one thing that you will never be prepared for, is that big move. You know, it's a culture, it's a massive cultural change. there's so many changes, and all of a sudden you are alone, you know, regardless of whoever's around you, you are alone. So it is difficult, and it did take me some time to adapt, about a year, that I really struggled to just understand and try and fit in, and just try and just have some kind of normalist, you know, normal
Normality,
life.
yeah.
Yes. But I think that's quite the amazing thing of human nature. We do learn to adapt. And I am quite a positive person by nature. And I do believe that you have the choice whether you open yourself up to accept the change and to enjoy it. And I do enjoy myself extremely, extremely here. And I love France. I love the people. I love the culture, but it is still difficult regardless.
Yeah,
Because
I think it's a mindset. I think that was my mistake the first time I went overseas. My mindset wasn't there. I wasn't embracing the changes and treating it like an adventure. Yes, it was serious because it was work as well, but I didn't adventure into it. Almost, you know, after week 1, I was kicking and screaming, and I just said, no, it's not working. And after month 2, I said, definitely not working, going home. And I'm sad I did it, because not that I'd go back to that country, but it was difficult. It was hard for me, but I think it's about mindset. And I applaud people like you that go there and just absolutely embrace it. And, you know, that's what you've got to do. You've only got one life.
That's
Tanya,
the thing. And
tell me, in terms of financially, are you guys, is it expensive there? Are you coping? Is, you know, because that's one of the big things, you know. I mean, South Africans with a South African rand, it's hard to make that move. And then, I mean, you get something like lockdown, it's been eating at people. So how are you coping with the financial side of it fiscally?
Okay, so rand to euro is a massive difference. It's a massive difference. So rand does not mean much here. It's really expensive. So euro to euro, life is a bit more expensive here. But I do think that you can make it work. Not everything is excessively expensive. So you can actually have a good lifestyle with a minimum expense. But you know, it's rand to euro.
Yeah, no, look, a person, when you go abroad, you must not convert.
And also that mentality of, because I still struggle with that, even, you know, after nearly 2.5 years, I still look at a price in euro and calculate in my head and say, okay, no, that's too expensive. I don't take it, because I still think rand, and you just shouldn't do that, you know. But also, I mean, because France is such a big cheese and bread country, you know, it's true. I mean, bread is €1, so that's very cheap. That's really, really cheap. So considering South African rand, that's about 16, 17 rand a bread.
Well, that's high for bread now.
Oh, really? I'm still having 5 rand in my head.
No, darling, no, long time not. No, we pay about, for a decent loaf of bread, you're going to pay 15 to 17 rand. So no. Okay. Now you must, and that is what I'm saying. You know, the proportion euros you're earning and spending versus the rands that we're earning and spending, I think that's where the disconnect is. We don't have, our quality of life is busy going downwards because of things becoming more expensive. At least, you know, euros, you're earning so much, but your quality of life, I think, is a bit better.
Yeah, I kind of do agree with you. You can do much more with what you earn here. I always explain to people that, you know, France is such, you know, the culture here is free. Your living here is free. So what I mean by that is, here you can actually go on excursions and not pay for anything. You can go mountain climbing, you can go cycling, you can go swimming, you know, in the rivers, things like that. Where in South Africa, it's an expense. It's really an expense. So life here is quite free, you know, in that sense.
Tanya, and in terms of safety?
So I live in a small village. I live in a small village, but surrounded by two biggest towns, if I can say towns. So where I live, it's extremely safe. We don't lock our doors, you know, of the house. We don't have a gate, you know, into our yard. It's constantly open. So it's such a freeing, you know, thing to realize. I went jogging. We live next to a river and a forest, and I went jogging alone. And after 3 weeks, I realized one day, maybe I should just let someone know where I'm jogging, because, you know, that South African mentality is you can't do that without knowing. And I did it here, and you can do it here without people knowing it. I have to say, on the other side, like bigger cities like Paris, which is extremely well known, that is, for me, Paris was very similar to Joburg, if I can compare the two.
Okay.
So I think it is depending where you go in the country.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, big cities always have. You're always going to have an issue in a big city. You've got to be careful. I went to New York also about 20 odd years ago, and everyone said to me, please hold on to your purse because they'll snatch it. I don't think they realized that they didn't. We are very
South Africans.
we know what we're doing, all right? So, but that's big cities. I think a person's just got to be careful no matter what when you go to a big city, because there's lots of other influences. Medical aid, things like that, you sorted?
So I have international insurance.
Okay.
I still had my South African insurance until about last year.
Okay.
But it doesn't really mean much. So you just purchase international insurance just separate.
Yeah, I think you've got to have it when you travel overseas, hey?
Yeah. But that I have to say, the doctors here are quite nice. Everybody can speak English. All the doctors can speak English.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's a big bonus. Yeah. So and what is very nice with all the doctors and things here, all the bookings is electronic.
Oh,
so you make a booking, you book your time, and you go. There's no reception. You literally go, you knock, the doctor opens, you walk in, you have your consultation, and it's finished.
Sure,
you pay and
nice. Now, listen, we've got a long way to go in South Africa, that's for sure. Tanya, tell me, will you ever come back to South Africa?
To visit, yes.
But not to live?
I don't think I will come back to live there. And I think it will be difficult to adapt again from this kind of freedom back to the way it was.
Yeah. Tanya, your last nugget for anyone watching, what would you say is the number one advice that you would give? Oh, and wait, do you speak French yet? Parlez-vous français?
Un petit peu. Enough to get around, but not enough to have a full-blown South African conversation.
Okay, but it's happening.
It goes. We understand it. I always joke and say everybody in my life speaks franglais, so it's always a mix between English words and French words, and there we go. So.
Fantastic. All right. So last nugget, what would you say to people thinking of moving to France?
I would definitely say come here to experience it first, but don't come for a short holiday. You have to come and experience it because it's not for everyone. It's really not for everyone. And also, you know, like I said, be open-minded with change because it's not the same. You can't compare what you know to what you get, not at all. And last nugget is definitely when you do decide to move to France, you won't make a mistake, but bring all documentation that you possibly can think of and more.
Yes, yes. Because it's difficult to send stuff from South Africa anywhere in the world. Actually, it's difficult to send it from Hermanus to Cape Town, let alone abroad. So, yes, that's good advice. A person's got to make sure you pack it a little bit extra, hey?
Yeah. There I have to say, actually, for me to get documentation from South Africa to France takes 3 days. Very, very quick.
Okay, hang on, that's from where in the country?
So that is from either Cape Town or Joburg.
Okay, all right.
So, but to get the actual documentation from Home Affairs,
no, not going to happen.
Oh, that's the problem. That's really the problem, and that's why I say, if you can bring everything, and you know the documentation is only valid for 3 months.
So did you make use of a company that got the stuff for you from Home Affairs?
Yeah, so I made use, am I allowed to say their name?
Yes, of course, yeah.
I used a company called DocAssist, and they basically retrieved all my documentation, do the apostles, and then send it to me via DHL.
Fantastic.
So very, very quick, but it takes very long. It takes,
okay. And you were happy with their service? Obviously.
Extremely. I was very, I can't complain about it at all. Just Home Affairs was horrible. I think my first unabridged birth certificate I applied for took 9 months.
Yes. That's ridiculous.
Crazy. I know. That's crazy. So definitely prepare that.
So if you want to move in 2 years' time, you should actually start now already with all that stuff. Seriously, because things are going downhill,
Home Affairs, I would say, is absolutely horrible. That was my, and that is still my biggest struggle, is definitely just Home Affairs. Just Home Affairs.
Sure.
But otherwise,
Tanya, it was lovely meeting you. I'm so glad that you spoke to me. And yes, I know your process isn't complete yet, but you know what? All this little bit of information that we can get from each and every person is so meaningful. So I really appreciated that you took the time to come online. I'm sure you've got to work now. We're not very much apart in terms of time, are we?
No, we're exactly the same time now.
Okay, so you finished working now.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you very much for your time. And let's keep hearing from you. Once it's through and everything is done and dusted, make contact with me again. Let's chat again. All right.
And thank you as well for this platform, and for people that are actually considering it. It's a great platform to follow.
Fantastic, Tanya. Have a lovely evening, and we'll chat to you soon.
Yes, you too, Genie.
Thank you. Enjoy France. I'm jealous.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.